Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my top 5 most carried EDC folding knives over the last couple of months or so. We usually do this once a month, but I'm overdue for sure. These knives have all been carried so much versus what is typically the one in the 5th position is not carried nearly as much as the number 1 position. Not in this case. Over the last couple of months, these have all been rotated pretty evenly. Really, really great stuff in this one. So can't wait to share with you guys. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Starting off, by the way, all of these will be linked in the description. Most of them will be available, but I'll link them down there. Starting off here with number 5 is the Vosteed Porcupine. And like I said, even though it is in the number 5 position, it still gets rotated fairly regularly. And in this case, literally rotated because I have that roto spinny EDC selector thing upstairs by my bedside. But this knife is definitely one that gets grabbed, especially if I'm wearing, athletic pants or some lighter pant material, and I'm just wanting something that is a good, straightforward cutting tool and that has a dependable locking system, or maybe something I want to just be able to fidget with wherever I am. The Vosteed Porcupine is easily one of the greatest budget EDC folding knives that has ever existed. And it sounds like a crazy bold claim, especially if you're newer and not necessarily super familiar with this territory, but it checks a lot of boxes. It's made by a company, obviously, who makes really, really good pocket knives. It's utilizing materials like 14C28 and micarta, etc. But most importantly, we have a really good, straightforward, utilitarian ergonomic profile that's not trying to be anything special and is backed up by a hyper-dependable button-operated compression lock. Not a button lock, a button-operated compression lock. This will almost undoubtedly be the next major system that we see on like everything, kind of like how the button lock, the actual plunge lock kind of took over, and the axis lock kind of took over, and then are still, kind of like every other thing is one of those. This is going to be the next thing that does that. That's my prediction. And I think for good reason. It's more dependable than the Omega Spring operated axis lock because it doesn't have Omega Springs to break, and it's comically more dependable than your typical plunge lock. So I love this knife. It has been nothing but perfection. I don't even mind the wire clip. Of course, you could always swap that out. This knife is sometimes a little tricky to get your hands on, but if you get an opportunity to pick up the Vosteed Porcupine, I think it's about $68. Absolutely, 100%. I don't care if you like multi-hundred or multi-$1,000 knives, or you're somebody who's really new to the hobby, or you're on a budget or whatever. It doesn't matter. This is a knife that literally anybody can enjoy. It is so good. I love it. Moving on here to something I carry just because I think it's cool. It's actually kind of inconvenient to carry this, but I have gone back to carrying, I'm sorry, I said number 2. This is number 4. We started with number 5. At number 4, we have the Microtech Ramlock stitch with the fairly newly installed original goat titanium scales. This knife is now finally what I have always wanted it to be. I do own a full titanium custom Marfione and Borka stitch that is, for me, far too expensive to carry. It is not a knife that I'm willing to carry around on my person. But ever since I knew that the stitch was a thing, and this is a long time ago when all we had was the real thing and the auto thing from Microtech, I thought, man, I would love to carry a full titanium stitch. It's such a wicked looking knife. And, I finally got to handle one and I was like, this is so comfortable. It's unbelievable. The hand melting ergonomics is so good. It's such an iconic and instantly recognizable knife. It's so cool. Everybody that I show this knife to, my local buddies here who also like knives, they're always just flabbergasted by this thing. But Microtech finally brought us a manual production stitch that wasn't outrageously expensive, right? I mean, it's still expensive, but they brought us that. And this Ramlock, well, it had a shaky start, right? And then also their M390 MK also had a shaky start. But as far as I know, they started heat treating their M390 MK a little better. And I personally have never had a problem with any of my ram locking systems. But this knife finally was just about what I wanted it to be, minus the titanium scales, which Microtech does not make for their production stitches. They just don't do it. And if they did, I mean, we all know it would be horrifically expensive. Original Goat, however, does, and in my opinion, has made some of the most beautiful scales that you could possibly hope, could be added to the stitch. This knife is just perfect. I'm not saying it's the perfect EDC knife. I'm saying this is how I envisioned this thing being from the start. This is the final form of this pocket knife that I have always wanted it to achieve. I love it. It is so cool. It is ridiculously heavy and bulky and inconvenient, but I still carry it because I think it's awesome, and I'm basically walking around begging for an excuse to use it. I absolutely love this knife. It is so cool. Highly recommendable that you pick up the Ramlock stitch, and also some original goat scales, whether you want titanium or aluminum or whatever they make. It's all worth it. So cool. Moving on here. This is going to be a surprise to a lot of people. Number 3. This knife has been bumped down to number 3, and that is the Demco Shark Cub. Now, this is still one of my own personal favorite EDC folding knives of all time, and it is also, in my opinion, probably one of the best overall. I know that it sounds like I just said that with this guy, but when we're talking specifically about budget knives, that's where that one gets that title. But when we're talking about overall, like, best EDC, like all the way around, as far as, the price tag and the operation, the locking system, the materials, the potential cutting performance, all of that, the Shark Cub really does just about everything perfectly. It's not, there are going to be some knife tasks that require a larger knife, but the Shark Tag, the Shark Cub is just phenomenal, and it still is, and I expect this to remain in my rotation for a long time. In fact, I just got another one. I got a stealth version of this knife that is all black that I really like, but this is a really, really great knife. I think for some people it might be a little too thin. Doesn't bother me though. I think the ergonomics are great. It's such an easy knife to carry, and it's right at home, whether you're golfing or you're literally outside doing manual labor. I mean, it is right at home in any of those environments. It is exceptional and highly recommendable. I don't care if you pick up the cheap one with the injection mold plastic and the AUS 10A. They really need to change that steel. Or you pick up one of the more expensive ones. Either way, you will be happy with this knife. It is awesome, and it makes it in my pocket all the time. Moving on here to number 2. Oh, the joy of this. I cannot tell you how much joy is in my heart finally having an XM18 to actually EDC. Those of you who have watched my channel for a long time know that I collect Hinderer knives, and I have owned many, nearly 40 individual Hinderer knives over time. Many of them, sold or traded to buy more Hinderer knives or whatever. But I did have one Hinderer knife that I EDC'd, and it was a Harpoon Spanto that had a titanium scale on it. And that knife was given away, if I remember correctly, it was given away during my 500,000 subscriber live event. It was my favorite EDC Hinderer's S35VN Harpoon Spanto. I just loved it, but I thought, you know what? This would be a cool thing to give away to a viewer to celebrate this event, and I did that. And I have lots of other Hinderer knives, but those are knives that I like to just have in my collection. They're not necessarily ones that I would choose for EDC outside of that DLT trading exclusive non-flipper fullard spear, which I would happily buy a duplicate of if I had that opportunity, but I haven't. Not lately, right? Just with, other purchases and things. But DLT dropped the non-flipper Spantos, and I thought, there it is. The non-flipper Spanto, I gotta get my hands on it. And I did, and I thought, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get a non-flipper Spanto. I'm gonna get a titanium scale for it. I'm gonna run this thing on phosphor bronze, and that's gonna be my EDC knife. And that's exactly what I did, or one of my EDC knives. And this thing, not because it is superior to the Shark Cub or the Vosteed, because these are better. Like, if we're talking about which is better for daily EDC, like, these are better. They're more convenient. They have better cutting geometry, right? I carry this because I like it. And it's not a bad cutter at all. It's got thick cutting geometry, but man, it's so cool. Every chance I get, it's like the stitch. Every chance I get to get it out and use it or just look at it. And the fact that it's on phosphor bronze and just still has, like, you can see there, it almost wants to fall. Like right here, it almost wants to actually fall shut. It's so smooth. I love this. This is the tank that I always wanted this thing to be. And it's nice to finally have an XM18 non-flipper EDC, because the past one was a flipper. I thoroughly enjoy this knife. It is made entirely in-house in the USA, hand-tuned, hand-assembled, all of that. Has ridiculously nice fit and finish. And of course, with all of those things comes a pretty hefty price tag. That's going to be the problem that most people have with the Hinderer XM18. $425, and then you're looking at another $200 for the titanium scale. So what you're looking at here is a $625 knife, which is going to be too much for, you know, most people. But many of you I know watching this video right now also carry an EDC Hinderer knife, and so you know the joy of doing that, and it's a joy that I expect to continue to experience for a very long time. I think at this point, especially if you've been watching my content, you're going to know which knife has dominated my pocket. And this is the knife that I'm trying to decide for myself if it's going to kick the Shark Cub out permanently, or if I'm just going to go back and forth between these two, or if the Shark Cub is going to remain at number one. And that knife is the Spyderco Sage 6. A lot of people are going to tell me they prefer the blade steel on the Shark Cub, and I think that's fine. For me, it's not really about the materials. Like I wish that the handle scales on my S30V were solid carbon fiber. I know that they are on the S90V version, right? I just wasn't willing to spend $300 on that. And well, I love S30V. I don't have a problem with it. Maybe there's a different steel I would choose, but honestly, it doesn't really matter that much to me in this case. This knife, the reason that I carry it is because it is so beautifully convenient. It is so it's just like human nature to manipulate this thing. Now, I have both detent balls in. A lot of people remove them. But this knife, I will go ahead and say confidently, as comfortable as the Shark Cub is, the Sage 6 is more comfortable. And as easy to operate as the Shark Cub is. I would say like swinging the blade in and out might be slightly easier, but having to push down on this, not quite as easy as the button, right? I think overall, the Sage 6 feels more convenient to manipulate, and it's largely because of the access to the opening hole. I do like the dropped tip of the Shark Cub, but the Sage 6 also has superior cutting geometry. As far as which knife is more durable, well, I think the Shark Lock is probably more durable than the Spyderco compression lock, but nothing I'm going to do with the Spyderco is ever going to require, enough force that would damage the locking system and not damage the Shark Lock. So that is kind of trivial. While I'll still recognize it and point it out to people who care, because many of you use your knives differently than me, it's just not a factor. And the compression lock is still ridiculously strong. I mean, it's so overkill for what I do anyway. So that really doesn't leave much, in the way of question here. It's the reason why I've been carrying it so much. It just feels, and I came to this knife, actually I came to my AD 20.5 from a Para 3. These knives are definitely the knives that have dominated my pockets over the last few years. This knife was carried forever and ever and ever, and I switched to this guy, which I liked more than the Para 3, even though it's got some disadvantages. I switched to this guy because it's a better version of this, and then I switched to this guy because I miss this, and I think this is maybe slightly better for me than this. So, but this is where I'm at with this stuff, and I expect the Sage to be that knife, for me for quite a while. I was really excited that they decided to release this knife in a button-operated compression lock. I think that's just great, and I think it in every way is superior to the Spyderco Para 3. So yeah, this is my most carried knife, and it will probably continue to be in this rotation for the foreseeable future. So anyways, going back over these, in the number 1 spot, we had the Sage 6. In the number 2 spot, we had my XM18 3.5 inch DLT trading exclusive non-flipper Spanto. Number 3 spot was the Demco Shark Cub. Number 4 spot was the Microtech Stitch with the original goat scales. And the number 5 spot was the Vosteed Porcupine. That's going to be it today, guys. Links for everything down in the description. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.